Being a manufacturer in Australia, we always have to be very, very considerate or conscientious of our operating costs. So anything at all that can pull our day-to-day expenses down or reduce what we actually do is definitely something we need to look at. Yeah, so we've been in business for 25 years, manufacturing here in Australia. We supply a lot of Australia and New Zealand and some of Europe with spas and swim spas. We build around about 5,000 outdoor spas a year and probably supply about half the Australian market. Rob Kruber, the CEO of Spa Industries Global, we manufacture spas and swim spas. To start with, our first experience with Kuga was they come out and did a proposal on our lighting, so changing over from our high bays, our standard high bays, and fluoro tubes over to LED. Took a little bit of time for us to consider. We went back through and had a look at the difference in pricing, and we ended up having a look at the summary of the cost of actually doing the whole installation. It was something we had to do. The cost of the actual investment was only very, very small, and to get a return, I think the return on the investment basically from the power costs was only 4 months, so it was well worthwhile doing the LED changeover. Look, commercial decisions are easy to make, and it was definitely a commercial decision. For the next part that we're doing with the solar, that was actually a consideration come from power. We just rolled off our contract for our pre-purchase power, and it just rolled over, and the increase on the power part of it was almost 3 times of what we were previously paying. And there's where we started to look at the solar part. And again too, it's going to put about $100,000 worth of cost onto our business. So we started looking at options, what we could do. First thing was negotiate with electrical companies and have a look at what's the best business we could do there. And once we locked in, we felt like the best deal, then we started looking at other ways to get the operating costs down, and solar was one of them. So from that, a couple of electrical companies actually provided solar options, which we had a look at, leasing and different ways to do it. We decided not to go ahead with those options. We had a look at then Kuga did the option of basically a straight buyout for the actual solar cells with the rebates given by the government at the time, and we priced that up, and by far for us commercially that was the best decision to do. After the job too, when we actually had a fault, which I didn't even realise, we had a failure or a fault on one of the actual cells up on the roof. They come down and told us they had to repair it before I actually knew they had to repair it, so which is always good as well. Our figures now, basically, we're spending no more for power than what we were before the actual power rise. So it's been a really, really good offset for us. It allows us to invest back in. Obviously, manufacturing in Australia is always very much, we have to constantly look at evolving and becoming front of, ahead of the game to keep manufacturing going in Australia. More efficient machinery, more cost savings, with things going up to keep the manufacturing over here. So it allows us to reinvest basically the money that we're saving back into the company again to get ourselves ahead of the game. Look, and again, the first project that we did with Kuga, with a lighting system, they come through, and I'm very project-based as well. I sort of have a good understanding of how projects should be managed. From sitting down with them, talking about how the process would do and what they'd run, they delivered on all the aspects that we set and hit the targets and the goals and didn't disrupt our business. But what they did, they delivered on. So once they did that the first time, I felt very, very comfortable using them again with the second project. Like any sort of businessman in a top position, it takes a fair bit to give a referral to another company. And probably with what Kuga's done, I've actually referred them to a couple other customers or a couple other people I actually know as being a good supplier of obviously not just solar, but also electrical work as well, because of the way they handle themselves. They are professional, and they are someone that I feel comfortable to refer.